KSBY TV was the first local television station to hit the airwaves on the Central Coast. Now, during the past 70 years, much has changed, but the mission has not: to inform and entertain the community.
I had the honor of speaking with a few people who have worked at KSBY over the years and heard their perspectives. Russ James began working as a morning host on KVEC radio in 1952 and spent his afternoons working to start the area's first TV station. It was May 25th, 1953, when KVEC TV broadcast a signal for the first time.
But when we first turned it on and saw that test pattern, for myself and from Charlie Mitchell, we looked at that thing and I said, "Charlie, what do you think?" He said, "I think we got it working." So we had it working. I guess it's been working ever since.
The new television signal was coming from atop Cuesta Peak, the only location high enough to reach residents around San Luis Obispo County.
The test pattern was on. Les Acker was watching from way down where he lives. And we said, "Are you ready to see it?" "I've been ready all day," he said. So we put on Hopalong Cassidy, and he really liked that.
And just like that, a new television station was born. The KVEC call letters stood for Valley Electric Company, whose owners wanted to be able to sell television sets. The first broadcasts consisted mostly of the Hopalong Cassidy movies, but eventually local shows made it to the airwaves.
We started a morning program of just talking to people, and it I forget what the name it was, but we had a sort of we'd have a cooking show at one time. We had a Western band, local Western band, just anything to fill up time.
Those early shows were filmed and edited at the station's location on Hill Street, but to air them, someone had to make the treacherous drive up to the peak, oftentimes requiring a four-wheel drive Jeep. The station was sold 4 years later and became KSBY TV. That ended much of the local programming, with the station instead rebroadcasting a signal from Salinas. Dave Garth was hired as the news director and a reporter in 1969.
Gradually, they decided they could do a local newscast, but the trick was there was no way to broadcast from downtown San Luis. So the only way to do the show was to actually drive up to the transmitter site on Cuesta Peak. And most people don't know, but it's a pretty treacherous road.
Garth says it's the connection between the station and the community that gives local television such a big impact.
KSBY was part of the glue that held the community together, that common experience. And I think that's still the case. Maybe less so with social media and all the various ways that people can experience. But in terms of local news, it's that local joint news experience, I think, that helps make a community. And I think that hasn't changed.
Over the past 70 years, the faces may have changed, but the goal has not. Local television, and especially local news, hold a community together and hold it accountable.
Starting in 1985, we were in an expansion mode, both as a community here in San Luis Obispo, Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, and also KSBY was in an expansion mode. We had a great sales staff, we had great management, we had lots of really great reporters and producers. Everyone was here, and they were not only expanding, but they were digging a little deeper.
Lynn Deal is a familiar face who kept the Central Coast informed during the 80s and 90s.
One man said, "I've been waiting 40 years for this."
If you are of the people, if you live here and you made friends and you got to know everybody, you're embraced by the community. That's the most important thing about the stories that you're doing on these anniversaries, because even though KSBY thrived, it was because of its connection to the community.
I have been a part of KSBY for more than a third of its time on the air. As I reflected with those who'd come before me, we all agree, from the man who quite literally turned this station on for the first time To those who bring you the news each night right now, what has changed is the technology that allows you to keep up with the changes in your community. What has not changed is the need to know about and connect with your community.
Do you think television is still as important today as it was then?
I think it's more important right now, especially local TV. I think it just has to be.